Hey guys, Silverpaw here, and I'm reading Those Three Words Chapter 3 today, so I'll be linking in the description Those Three Words Chapter 3, and the author, which is Eraser Rain, and, well, here we go. Sonic, Tails, can you come down here a minute, please? Both young children clattered downstairs. Well, Sonic clattered. 5-year-old Tails made his way down the stairs carefully, step by step. Sonic hung around at the bottom, waiting for his best friends so they arrived in the living room at the same time, where their parents were waiting. "Sit down, you two," Sonic's mom said. "Your dads want to talk to you," Tails' mother added. The boys sat on the floor, staring up obediently at their fathers. "Now then," Sonic's dad started, "we want to talk to you about what you will do when you grow up. You're both going to get married to beautiful girls and have children. You'll be happy forever. If you do that, won't you?" The boys nodded eagerly. "So, you'd be very unhappy if you did something different, wouldn't you?" Both children glanced at each other and nodded again, less eagerly this time. The dads grinned in encouragement. There's some people out there who don't want to be happy. They don't ever fall in love with nice girls and have children. They fall in love with other boys. It doesn't sound very nice, does it? "No," Sonic said, seeing that Tails didn't really understand what they were talking about. "Well, these people should be punished then, right? So we punished these people. 60 years ago was the last time any man said he ever loved another man." "What did you do to him, Dad?" Sonic asked, sounding interested. His father smirked back at him an almost evil smile. "I wasn't there personally, son, but I know what happened. They stuck him on a huge pole in front of the whole town. Then they threw things at him. Rocks, bricks, anything really. Anything they could get their hands on quickly. They shouted stuff too," Tails' dad added. "They called him names, horrible, nasty names. Then they started throwing other stuff, knives mostly. And then someone got a stick with straw in the end. They set it on fire and threw that. The guy got on fire and burned to death. Then everyone got—" "Hey, stop it!" Tails' mother snapped, picking up her son. "You're frightening Tails." The young fox had turned a ghostly shade of pale white and was trembling, whimpering softly. "You don't need to be afraid, Tails. Just make sure you grow up and be nice so that other girls will like you, okay? That doesn't sound too hard, does it?" Tails shook his head so hard his neck clicked. "Tell the child something, and they'll believe you until you set them straight. They'll believe what you said until the day they die, unless someone tells them opposite and proves evidence." Since the two boys were given the regular talk about gays, they hadn't been told that it was fine to like other boys. They hadn't been told that because nobody thought that. Everyone had been told the exact same story since the beginning of time, so that's what everybody believed. Sonic had returned home shortly after Tails' mother had walked in. He couldn't stand sitting there watching them. The house was silent as he stepped inside. He leant against a wall, closing his eyes and sighing. He remained like that for several minutes, one hand resting on his head. He brushed it back through his quills, breathing heavily. "Mom!" called out suddenly. "Dad? Anyone home?" Opening his eyes again, Sonic walked over slowly to the kitchen, immediately noticing a piece of paper on the table held down with a bag of sugar. Sonic picked it up, his eyes scanning over the page. He tossed it aside, watching it flutter to the floor. Something about his parents being out for a while. They'd suggested that he spend the day over at Tails' house to avoid being bored. Tails. Sonic headed to the living room, dropping down heavily on the sofa. He stared at the opposite wall, green eyes not even focused. All of his thoughts were on Tails. Closing his eyes, Tails' cute face smiled back at him. Some words from long ago echoed in his mind, plus the ones from barely 10 minutes ago. I started to have dreams about him. Most of them were the most romantic things in the world. He held me close to him, whispered things into my ear. I remember a dream where he was kissing me. That was the line that made Sonic realize he was gay as well. He never really thought about it before. He'd had dreams like that too, but he thought it was because his brotherly love for Tails was getting stronger. All of the dreams were fairly mild, simple hugs, light kisses. How could he have thought that those were what every best friend did? They were things that boyfriends and girlfriends did. He should know. Most of his friends were together in pairs, and they did stuff like that all the time. As for not noticing that Tails was attracted to him, true, he'd been a little quieter recently, but he hadn't noticed the other stuff. The blushing, being near him all the time, staring at him, how could those things have been missed so easily? It just didn't make sense. Sonic had a sudden thought. What if Tails' mother tried to work out why he'd burst into tears earlier when she came in? What if the kitsune ended up telling her the truth? Then what would happen? She'd shout at him, probably, and she'd tell his dad. He'd tell Sonic's parents. They'd end up telling everyone. Sonic and Tails would be chased out of town, wherever they went. Everyone would hate them. They'd be caught eventually, hung in front of everyone, tortured, killed. Sonic shook his head frantically. They couldn't tell anyone, not even their parents. They were on their own, so what if Tails did confess to his mother? Sonic began to panic. He needed to go back to Tails' house, but he couldn't just let himself back in and run up to Tails' bedroom, begging him not to tell his mother that they kissed earlier. So how could he stop Tails? Tails, he muttered under his breath, please don't tell anyone anything. Please, they'll hate you. And me, please? Tails sniffed, wiping his eyes in embarrassment. Are you sure you're alright, honey? His mother asked. You know you'll make up with Sonic again, don't you? Tails blinked, his face blank. That is why you were crying, isn't it, Tails? She said. Oh, yeah, right. I'm sure we will, Mom. It's just a stupid argument after all. She smiled warmly at him, ruffling his hair gently. Then she stood up and walked out of the room, closing the door quietly behind her. Tails watched her go, then looked around in confusion. He hadn't seen Sonic leave. Tails swallowed. What if Sonic actually did hate him? But then, why had he kissed him? Tails furrowed his brow in confusion. Surely Sonic kissed him for a reason. He wouldn't just do that to make fun of him. Would he? Sonic wasn't like that. Or maybe he just did that to get Tails' hopes up. Then he was going to tell everyone how Tails loved him. Maybe he'd even twist the story and say that Tails kissed him. Then everyone would be disgusted at Tails. A loud ringing startled Tails. He looked around wildly, snatching up his phone, holding it to his ear. Hello? Sonic? Hey, Tails. You okay? Sonic, you haven't told anyone, have you? Dude, why would I do that? Come on, you trust me, don't you? Tails felt himself blush. Anyone else would be able to keep it secret for a minute. So, he must have really been serious about loving Tails then, right? Although he hadn't actually said it. Tails? You still there? Look, my parents are out all day. You want to come around for a while? Yeah, I'll be there now, in a minute. Okay. Sonic? Yeah? Tails glanced at his door just to make sure his mother wasn't lurking around outside. I love you, Tails whispered. The other end of the phone was silent, so he wasn't sure if Sonic had heard him, but then... I know. I love you too, Tails. Then he hung up. That's the end of Chapter 3. I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope to see you guys in Chapter 4. And I just did a weird, slightly Cockney accent for some odd reason, so peace out.